Greetings and salutations, folks. I hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to today's upload. Before we jump on into it, a quick couple of links. As many of you may know, I rely on Patreon, PayPal, channel membership, and the merch to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Links to Patreon, PayPal, and channel membership is in the description below. Merch displayed directly under the video. Also, Dogman, Frightening Encounters, Volume 1 through 3, the audiobook versions. They were written and researched by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeff Nadolny. These audiobooks are available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, links to which are also in the description as well. And finally, last but definitely not least, if you'd really like to help support the channel to continue to grow and go, simply subscribe. It does not cost a cent. Click the like button, takes half a second. If you don't want to miss out on any of the informative uploads that I put out daily, click the bell icon. And folks, please leave a comment and share the video. Why? Well, because these things really do help the channel to continue to grow and go. They definitely do matter and they are appreciated. And now, everyone, I have taken far too much of your time. Let's jump in to today's upload, shall we? So, really quick before we get into this upload, and what I'm going to share right now has everything to do with the upload. Just kind of a whole new perspective on things. So, the other day I had done an upload on a prison under Antarctica which houses angels, Anunnaki, Nephilim, alien, whatever you want to call them. And there was a few comments that I had noticed about Corey Good, and some stating, "Oh, I followed him for quite some time," and some kind of on the negative. Now, these whistleblowers, these former super soldiers who are coming forth, unfortunately, James Rink just recently passed away, November 30th. Michael Prince, aka James Caspel. These guys are, by the powers that be, they try to make them look foolish to the public. Someone comes out and states a whole bunch of very strange information, but it makes a heck of a lot of sense to a heck of a lot of people. What is instantly going to happen is the powers that be are going to quickly come in and try to do like a janitorial cleanup on a spill. Except this isn't juice or milk. This is information. So how do you do that? Well, you discredit somebody. You threaten them. Now, we know a lot of these people who come forth, Bill Cooper, Phil Schneider, and more, have been silenced. And it still goes on today. Still literally goes on today. And they make it like they were a criminal or they unalived themselves. Now, when someone is whistleblowing and they get a threat, they can either retract that statement and make themselves look like an idiot, or face the wrath and not be here anymore. And it depends on how strong that threat is. As if I were to be in the position of a powers that be cleanup crew, I would use anything at my disposal to silence the leak, to clean up the spill. So someone had said that Corey Goode had come out and said that he had lied, this and that. Now, he did. He did say that. But he was under scrutiny, distress, the look on his face. Andrew Dawson shared videos on TikTok. Very interesting videos. What happens? He makes a TikTok saying, I'm just lying to you guys. Look, this is exact video. I'm just lying, guys. I made the video up. Completely fake. This, and that. Then he is silenced. Now, of course, there's people who come out and say, oh, it was just a hoax. It was this, it was that. Whatever you want to believe, whoever you want to believe, doesn't matter to me. I know what I believe. I have my own theories. I've looked into it. I found his funeral home, the funeral home that hosted his memorial. X, Y, and Z leads to ABC for me. So these people will be silenced at any cost. So if he did come out and say, hey, you know, I lied about all this, and that, and he keeps looking to the left, or you can see Corey's face, where to me it looks like someone threatened his family. I would probably say, hey, guess what, guys? I lied. Is that good? Is that good? You know, it's, and I've often found that humorous to me. Those people that will buy into the truth, what we talk about here, what we theorize here, but then not look at it in a way of, well, you know what? Maybe he was threatened. The NWO, the powers that be, the Luciferian agenda is a scary entity to mess with. And if they want you silenced, they will silence you. So, but I just wanted to share that because it kind of irked me that these people don't look or take a second to say, you know, he said some really damning stuff that was actually backed by a few other people. Maybe they did get to him and silenced him that way. Anyway, today's information that I'm going to share with you, MILABs, abductions, deep underground facilities, cryptids. You know, it's always interesting to me. Dulce, there's been dogmen and Bigfoot creatures spotted in the area. Montauk, same thing. The Eye of Quebec, there is a deep underground facility up there. Same thing. Just interests me, and it only makes the connections stronger. So let's get into this information, because this stuff is pretty much what I love, and I live for this information. I live for classified intelligence information, whether it be MI6, CIA, Mossad. I mean, when you mention those three just grimy gangs, only bad things come. So, this right here is probably some of the most damning evidence, damning information on deep underground facilities, abductions, alien, demonic creatures, the whole connection, shared by a government super soldier. Doesn't get any better than this. I need to do this for many reasons. The truth must come out, and I need to protect my family and myself. If any of us were to come to a premature end, it would only add more credibility to what I am saying. Therefore, by presenting the following, I am protecting us. Government harassment and surveillance of me has increased since going public. I believe this has now become a national security issue. I've had my life threatened, men situated in the hotel opposed to my flat taking photos of me using high-tech long-range cameras which use a blue laser. My phone line and my girlfriend's mother's phone line tapped. My information hacked into and taken off multiple websites and emails from government officials blocked. I believe this is because I am leaking information on projects classified above top secret, which I will go into detail. The intelligence run drug trafficking is only classified secret. So James Casbolt, aka Michael Prince, or Michael Prince, aka James Casbolt, is saying, hey, government drug dealing is secret. It's classified secret. I'm busting out above top secret information. And, he also states, hey, guess what? Guess what? They're threatening me and they're using any means to do it. Also, he's a super soldier. So the only way you can kind of get to him is by using his family. Corey Goode was not a super soldier. Corey Goode was a basic person. Doesn't have the training Casbolt had or has. So if I were in Casbolt's shoes, I'd be like, fuck it. You guys made this. You made an ultimate weapon. Take me down if you can. If you can't, I'm going to share a bunch of your dirty laundry. My name is James Casbolt, and I worked in MI6 covert cocaine trafficking operations with the IRA in London between 95 and 99. My father, Peter Casbolt, was also MI6 and worked with the CIA and the Mafia in Rome in 93 on covert cocaine and heroin trafficking operations. The global drug trade, run by many factions of the global intelligence community cooperating together, MI6, CIA, Mossad, etc., just the best of the best gangs, is worth at least $500 billion a year. This is more than the global oil trade. MI6 controls many of the other intelligence agencies in this world. MI6 created the CIA in 1947, and they still control them today. Now, that's one thing I do disagree with. They did, in fact, not create. The CIA was being created. America saw MI6 as being one of the most elite intelligence agencies in the world and said, hey, we want what you guys have. Help us become what you guys are. And then they did. So, I mean, it was kind of a joint effort. I don't believe that you can put MI6 created the CIA. Because why would the English government want to create a intelligence agency that is not loyal 100% to the United Kingdom? It was more or less like, we don't have this, we want what you have, and we're going to make it better eventually. The Black Ops drug money, or in classic Orwellian terms, MI6 CIA non-appropriated funds, is being used to fund governmental and military projects classified above top secret. These operations include a huge worldwide UFO cover-up and the building and maintaining of deep underground facilities or deep underground military bases. There are many of these bases worldwide. Here's just a few. Dulce in New Mexico, Brecon Beacons in Wales, Los Alamos in New Mexico, Pine Gap in Australia, the Snowy Mountains in Australia, Nyala Range in Africa, west of Kindu in Africa, next to the Libyan border in Egypt, Mount Blanc in Switzerland, Narvik in Scandinavia, and Gotland Island in Sweden, and many others. These projects are being run by a secret, unelected international governing body connected to the United Nations. There are at least 1,400 of these deep underground facilities worldwide, 131 in the United States, with 2 underground bases being built per year in the United States at this very moment. The average depth of these bases are 4¼ miles underground, some shallower, some deeper. The bases are on average the size of a medium city. Each facility costs between $17 to $26 billion to build, which is funded by MI6 CIA drug money. Each underground base employs 1,800 to 10,000 workers. A nuclear-powered drill is used to dig underground. This drill goes through rock at a tremendous rate and literally melts the rock away to form a smooth glass-like surface around the edge of the tunnels. On May 20th, I personally received information from a former member of the NSA, National Security Agency, through a third party. I wish to protect this person's identity, so we will just call them G. This is the first time this information is being made public. G was subcontracted by the NSA in the late 80s and worked for the NSA until 92. He was a senior electrical engineer in the Los Alamos underground base in New Mexico. G also worked at Alamogordo, deep underground facility in New Mexico, and an underground base in Hawaii. He said that Los Alamos base goes 2 miles underground and is the size of a small city. While there, he witnessed rows of caged humans, tall gray aliens, reptilian aliens. G says the NSA was very hard on all subcontractors and people who worked there, very hard under severe conditions. According to G, the United States federal government, the USAF, and the DOE, Department of Energy, run the Hawaii deep underground facility he worked at. These bases go down 2 miles and stretch into the Pacific Ocean. It is here that 3 very tall and muscular Nordic-looking men, who, according to G, were reptilian-human hybrids because their eyes would shift into having vertical slits for pupils, chased him along the motorway there and threatened to silence him because he had overheard them talking about some piece of high technology. Understandably, G was very emotionally scarred from this experience and does not like talking to people about them. I was told on May 23rd from this source that in June there would be a huge amount of HARP engineered earthquakes in the west coast of America, and that the deep underground facilities there are already being evacuated and shut down. This is 100% accurate, because between the 21st and the 28th of June, there will be at least 400 earthquakes on the west coast of America. By executive order, the NSA is exempt from all laws which do not specifically name the NSA in the text of the law, which basically means they can do whatever they want and are answerable to no one. This is because of this interaction with extraterrestrial or demonic species and its twisted view that people are children and cannot handle the truth. There is currently an internal war raging in the global intelligence community regarding this alien or Luciferian agenda. This is between negative and positive factions. From my understanding, one of these main negative factions is a group centered around MI6 and the CIA called Aquarius. This group is covering up the truth, blatantly lying and discrediting or murdering anyone who gets too close to exposing what is going on. There is also a positive group centered around the naval intelligence called COM-12, which is leaking accurate information regarding this alien or Luciferian agenda into the public arena. When the missile, not a plane, hit the Pentagon on 9/11, it hit the naval intelligence section of that building. This was part of the internal war between Aquarius and COM-12 being played out. Aquarius has also enlisted the help of Hollywood and mainstream media to twist the facts of this alien/Luciferian agenda and blind the public to the truth. Sir Martin Wakefield Jacome was director for the Telegraph newspaper in 1986. He is also connected into MI6 and is involved with laundering MI6 drug money through the Bank of England. Jacome was the director of the Bank of England from 87 to 95. Former head of CIA William Casey was head of the Council of the media network ABC. Many insiders refer to the ABC network as the CIA network. The gray and reptilian alien working together with the military in these underground bases called MIEC, Military Industrial Extraterrestrial Complex. This is a malevolent organization, as you shall see with the following information. There are also benevolent ETs on this planet. These groups are not part of the MIEC and are from Pleiadians, Andromeda, Lyra, Procyon, Teucidi, Sirius A, and Omo. These groups seem to work together in some kind of protective federation. On February 20th, 1954, now remember, it was all like 34, 44, 54, 64. So for some reason, the fours, 10 years apart. February 20th, 1954, a delegation from these groups met with Eisenhower administration in an unsuccessful effort to reach the agreement on the United States thermonuclear weapon program. The stumbling block to these negotiations was that the ETs were not willing to provide technology that might have been used by the military-industrial factions of the Eisenhower administration. These peace-loving, human-looking creatures refused to be co-opted into emerging military-industrial extraterrestrial complex in the United States, Britain, Russia, and elsewhere on their planet, or on this planet, excuse me. July 11th, 1934, the first treaty with the Greys from Orion occurred aboard a naval vessel in Balboa. This was one of the most important events in human history because it thrust us into a role we were not prepared for as regards to being host to a malevolent extraterrestrial race. The United States federal government disregarded the Constitution of the United States by doing this and not telling the public. It was here that the agreement was first made between the Greys, representing the reptilians from Orion, and representatives of the United States intelligence community. Treaty stated that in return for the Greys providing high technology, anti-gravity, metals, alloys, environment, free energy, medical technology, the government would allow the Greys to proceed unhindered with human abductions. This was only if the list of abductees was provided to the government and the abductees returned unharmed with their memories of the events erased. So here's something that I find interesting. The Greys, or the reptilians, give us anti-gravity, they give us metals, alloys, environment, free energy, medical technology. What did God punish the 200 fallen angels? What did he punish them for besides procreating with the daughters of men? Well, he was really upset that they gave us weapons, swords and armor, cosmetics, adornment, sorcery, astronomy, root cuttings, medicinal magic, and the art of making ornaments alongside of illicit union with human women, creating the Nephilim. That is what essentially got these angels cast out of heaven. They weren't cast out of heaven in the beginning. And then the Greys in 1934 give us something so similar. It's almost like a repetitive cycle. You see what I'm saying here? I don't know why people haven't caught on to this. You know, all these researchers prior to me are not talking about this, and yet they are. In 1944, a second extension of this treaty was signed. There's very little details on this. In 1954, under the Eisenhower administration, the third extension of the treaty is signed, called the Grenada Treaty. The Greys and reptilians blatantly broke the terms of the treaty, as you will soon hear. The Grenada Treaty was agreed upon at the Holman Air Force Base in New Mexico by the Greys and the Ultra Unit in the NSA. The original document of this treaty and the ET material from it can be found today at the NSA facility called Blue Moon underneath Kirkland Air Force Base in New Mexico. The entrance to this deep underground facility is in the Manzano Mountains. Also at this location is a technological base of secretive Department of Energy. And all this time, I truly, I believe that New Mexico is something so powerful. There is something that attracts these alien Greys, these reptilians, to this one state. And it wasn't because the United States decided to create the Gourd of Death, which Montezuma and the Aztecs all talked about. This Gourd of Death, a nuclear bomb. It's just so coincidental, isn't it? The original document of this treaty can be found today. Free energy devices developed from the Grey and reptilian technology are being built for use in space at this DOE base. On April of 1964, two intelligence personnel met under Project Plato with the Greys in New Mexico desert to arrange a meeting on the April 25th at Holman. This meeting was to renew the treaty again in a psychological bid to buy time in order to solve the problem of the Greys and reptilians. A treaty nightmarish situation is now unfolding. Phil Schneider was a geologist, structural engineer, and underground tunneling expert for the United States government and the UN. He participated in this construction of many deep underground facilities in North America and other countries. Phil was murdered by the CIA January 17th, 1996, at his apartment in Wilsonville, Oregon. 1979, in Dulce, New Mexico, Phil Schneider was drilling into the desert there to build an auxiliary base in the southern end of Dulce, on top of an already existing underground base there. The already existing base had been built by the United States government in 1940s under Operation Blue Note, but afterward had been taken over by the Greys and Reptilians. See, I don't believe that. I believe that these bases were here well before we even had the technology to create these deep underground facilities. We hear about these creatures coming from out of the ground, from underneath, and it just they've been here longer than we've had the technology to create these bases. So over a period of 2 days, Phil and his team had drilled 4 holes in the desert and went down several thousand feet. One of those holes kept bringing up dirty dust, putrid odors, and broken off machine bits that were sent down the hole. Boring machines and lasers came back up damaged when they were sent down. A probe was then sent down and came back up totally missing. Eventually, people were sent down. Phil was one of the first persons to go. He was lowered down into the cave, and when he got there, standing around 10 feet away were 2 7-foot-tall Greys. He was petrified, but managed to empty one magazine from his pistol into the Grey. As he was reloading, one of the Greys hit Phil with some kind of particle beam weapon, giving him a very high dose of nuclear radiation poisoning, similar to cobalt radiation, but much worse. Phil's lung was burnt out of him, and he had a huge scar running down his chest, which he has shown at lectures. His fingers on his left hand were burnt off. His bones were burnt. He was basically cooked. He was in radiation isolation therapy for 400 plus days. In the cave, large metallic vats were found filled with human body parts, generally glands. In those vats were high-tech stirring devices that stopped the blood from coagulating. In Aztec, in New Mexico, on the 13th February 48, a crashed disc was retrieved by the military. The craft was 100 feet in diameter and made of a light metal resembling aluminum, and contained 2 alien bodies or reptilian bodies. A large number of human body parts were also found aboard that craft. The above top secret security lid was screwed down on this even tighter than Roswell to stop mass panic. The very next day after the crash, the craft was probably shot down by the military. The government bought the property from local landowners. Witnesses in Aztec observed covered military vehicles going in and out of that area for days after that crash. The craft was transported to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. The disc incorporated large rings of metal which revolved around a central stabilized cabin. There were no rivets, bolts, screws, or signs of welding. People of Aztec carefully guarded their words as to the accounts of this crash disc. The Aztec citizens are still being monitored by the military to this day. An elderly woman said her husband watched a military truck going in and out of that crash area for days. She said she was very nervous about the whole thing and did not want to talk about it to anyone other than her husband. After seeing these military vehicles, she was asked if she believed that there had been a crash out there. Her response, If something hadn't happened out there, how come the military rushed right in? Why was the covered military trucks going in and out of the canyon? Why did they deny being here? And why were they buying the near and surrounding land where this craft supposedly crashed? In Cambodia in 1972, at the height of the Vietnam War, the United States Special Operations Team, out on a patrol, came across a group of alien creatures loading various human body parts into large metal containers and sealing them. A pitched battle ensued, which resulted in fatalities on both sides. As the soldiers pulled back, the aliens quickly retreated to their craft, taking the body parts with them. As usual, a major cover-up was quickly enforced. One of my contacts in Wales, who we will call D, to protect his identity, was approached by an elite intelligence organization called Group 58. This group was formed by Margaret Thatcher in the 80s to work at the sites of crashed ET crafts in Britain. This is the first time this information is being made public. Even though Group 58 was formed by Thatcher, it was a United Nations group. Group 58 man called George showed my contact the UN identity card with UN holograms on it. George then drove D to a clandestine meeting on a motorway service. It was here that George showed D photographs of human mutilations they had found near a heavily guarded Brecon Beacon deep underground facility in Wales. These photos were taken at a sealed-off area where a UFO activity had taken place. The photo showed a girl of 16 and a boy of 20 who had their blank removed, eyeballs removed, lips removed, and directly half of their skin missing. George said the Group 58 regularly found camper vans around the area where occupants had vanished. D understandably had nightmares for weeks after this and was soon after followed by a high-tech American utility van with blue lights underneath. I believe this to be an NSA van. Days after this, D had his life threatened over the phone. The call was anonymous but told him to keep quiet, or his house would be burnt down with him in it. George then called D and told him his life was in danger and to get the information out as soon as possible to protect himself. The next day, a gas man turned up, pulled out his ID the moment at the door opened, and walked in to check the meter. When he left, a fire broke out, which nearly burnt down the house with D and his wife in it. The house was wrecked, and the fire brigade said the fire had mysteriously started in a bin in the room where the gas man was. After this, D, another man, and myself were investigating reports on deep underground military bases and missing children around the small village of Zanor in Cornwall. There had been many sightings of these creatures on the cliffs since the 60s, and many UFO sightings around the area, large amounts of covert military action. Some of the UFOs had disappeared into the ocean, according to some eyewitnesses. 2 years ago, on Devon and Cornwall, police 2 years ago, a Devon and Cornwall police project, classified secret, had gone on. This was a dig for mass graves of children by the police. They had traced the reports of many missing kids in the area. This is a classified information that D managed to get a hold of. Once again, this is the first time mentioning by going public with the info. From that, I can gather the police did not find any bodies, and the digging area was walled off from the public. I believe the police were looking in the wrong place because the activity seems to be coming from the underground. When the poet D.H. Lawrence stayed in a small cottage in Zanor, He had heard explosions coming from this deep underground. And Crawley, Alistair, who is an MI6 agent, spent much time there. As stated, MI6 and CIA are heavily involved in this alien Luciferian agenda, and Crawley was up to his neck in it. Crawley had performed many satanic rituals at that cottage in Xanor. There seems to be a close connection with Satanism, Greys, and the reptilians. That's true, because Crawley supposedly summoned a demon named Lamb, and it looked identical to a Grey. At this cottage one night after Crawley left, a woman named Kay Cox died of a stroke. Her husband went insane and ended up in the Bodmin Mental Institution. The men said a reptilian being had materialized in the house, and I believe Kay Cox died out of fright. The police files pertaining to her death were stolen from the police station afterward. Crawley was also at Montauk in New York when the project was in full swing, and there was quantum energy grid line that runs from Montauk to Xanor and the Men and Toll ancient stones in Cornwall. After the fire at Dee's house, everything had gone quiet for a couple of years. All of a sudden, after 2 days into our missing children investigation at Xanor, Dee had men outside of his bedroom window shining lights in it. This is an intimidation tactic used by intelligence agencies. I've only scratched the surface on what is going on at Xanor, as there is not room to go into it. The bigger picture will be made public soon. So, what is going on with these human mutilations and missing people? The truth of the matter is that the Greys, reptilians, feed off of the glandular secretions and hormones through a type of osmosis. This is why major organs are taken from people. Your mind may want to go into denial that this is happening. If you start digging, you will find this to be 100% true. On the Crowded Sky website, there is a video smuggled out of Dulce underground facility that shows Greys inside of vats absorbing these mixtures. Researchers Bill Hamilton and Jason Bishop received reports from workers at the Dulce base who worked there in the mid-70s when it was jointly run by the CIA, Greys, and reptilians. This was before the ETs completely took the base over and kicked the humans out. The workers said the base goes down 7 levels. Level 6 is privately called Nightmare Hall amongst the workers. They tell of bizarre experimentation, multi-legged humans that look half human, half octopus, reptilian humanoids, furry creatures with hands like humans that cry like babies and mimic human words. Also a huge mixture of lizard humans in cages. Several cages with winged humans, 3.5 to 7 feet tall bat-like creatures, and gargoyle-like beings. In level 7, thousands of rows of humans and human genetic mixtures in cold storage. Humanoid embryo stage storage vats with embryos of various stages of development. Other workers said they witnessed scenes even more terrifying than this and refused to talk about them. One worker told Bill Hamilton, I frequently encountered humans in cages, unusually dazed or drugged, but sometimes they cried and begged for help. We were told that they were insane and involved in high-risk drug tests to cure insanity. We were told never to speak of this never to speak to them at all. At the beginning, we believed the story. Finally, in 1978, a small group of workers discovered the truth. Thomas Castiello was one of the security workers at Dulce. Thomas worked 7 years for the Rand Corporation in California. He transferred to Dulce in 1977. He estimated there were more than 180,000 short Greys at Dulce, and he saw large reptilians. Thomas knew of the 7 levels, but said there could be more. He said the aliens were on levels 5, 6, and 7. The lower you go, the higher the security clearance was needed. The only sign in English is above the tube shuttle system that says to Los Alamos. The tube shuttles travel at Mach 2.7. Most signs at Dulce facility are in alien symbol language and a universal system understanding by hormones. Thomas said that the other shuttle connections from Dulce went to Page, Arizona, Area 51, Nevada, Taos, Carlsbad, Datil, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, and Creede, Colorado. Thomas also said there's a vast number of tube shuttle connections under the United States which extend into the global system of tunnels to the underground bases in other countries. Thomas Castiello said the second level of Dulce, everyone is weighed naked, given a uniform. Any change in the weight is noted, and if there is a change in weight of 3 pounds or more, people are x-rayed at the entrance to all sensitive areas and scales, and the person's weight must match with their ID card upon entry. Thomas Castiello smuggled many things out of Dulce facility before he escaped, which included 27 sheets of 10 by 8 photos of alien gray and genetic creatures and bats. One silent surveillance camera videotape, which begins with showing computer banks, then VATS, multi-shots of Nightmare Hall, 2 shots of Gray, 1 shot of the terminal sign saying to Los Alamos, and 30 seconds after the shuttle train arriving, 25 pages of diagrams, chemical formulas, schematics, and alien equipped. A copy of the new government alien treaty with signatures. 2 pages of the original document signed by Ronald Reagan, then governor of California. Each person. About that. 2 pages of original document signed by Ronald Reagan, the then governor of California. Each page has Ronald Reagan's signature plus other political signatures and 4 alien signatures. Thomas Castiello's flash gun, a laser-type weapon used by security officers at Dulce. Thomas put the original set of these items in a sealed, 1-piece oxygen-heavy plastic box. 5 sets of copies are in 5 different boxes in 5 different locations, guarded by 5 different individuals, known only to Tom. I understand these individuals would be scared to leak this proof, as Tom Castiello's wife and child were kidnapped and then disappeared in Puerto Rico not long after. They are presumed dead. But if any of you are reading this, then please contact me anonymously so we can arrange for you to send me a copy. I will be able to get it out in a large scale. If this is part of the interview, this is part of the interview with Tom Castiello right before he disappeared. I am saying there are aliens in several underground bases in this country, and terrible things happen in those places. If I die before it is proven, search for proof. Demand that the government admit it. If enough people demand it, they will find a way to explain the base, or at least explain why they must keep it a secret. There are many people that work at Dulce that know me. I am challenging those co-workers to speak up anonymously. Send a letter to confirm what I have explained in the name of those brave men, women, and children and aliens that have died trying to let the public know what is going on at Dulce's facility. Expose that horrid place before thousands of more innocent people are tortured and die unspeakable ways. The Rand Corporation, which is involved in the construction of these underground bases, was released the Roper Report. This is now the third generation report that says, according to their research, 1 in 10 people have been abducted and implanted by the gray and reptilian and returned with their memories erased. This report has been sent out to 110,000 clinical psychiatrists in the United States. The Roper Report also states that women are being blanked by reptilian ETs as an ongoing genetic program by them. As fantastic as it sounds, it is backed up by some of the world's top MDs like John Mack and many others. There are some 90 concerned psychiatric scientists in the United States who are trying to form an organization to prevent secrecy on this horrendous situation. They say that because of the alien government treaties, this amount to government-sponsored blank. According to the Roper Report, 99.3% of these abductions are used as ongoing genetic ET programs are female and 0.7% are male. The Russians have areas the size of football fields full of crashed ET crafts. If that is not a full-scale invasion, I don't know what is. The British, Russian, and United States government have become blood brothers and the best of friends because of the Luciferian alien agenda. The Russian and United States Cold War was a sham so these governments could develop nuclear weapon programs to counter the threat. The Cold War was a lie to the public to take attention away from the nuclear weapon program was really being developed for. Not against Russia, but the last resort against the alien greys and reptilians. The headquarters for the secret international governing body in charge of dealing with the ET phenomena in Geneva, Switzerland. The ruling body is made up of representatives of the government involved as well as executive members of the group known as the Bilderbergs. As stated, British, American, and Russian governments are working very closely together because these greys and reptilians threat to the planet. Although the situation is so horrendous that these governments have shattered into panicked factions, some of which have sold out and are directly helping the greys and reptilians. According to a very credible United States insider, Bill Cooper, the most important meetings of the secret international governing body are held by Policy Committee on the nuclear submarine beneath the polar ice caps. The secrecy is such that this is the only method to make certain these meetings cannot be bugged. And this is the only place they will discuss their bigger secrets. It would be wrong and cruel to present the information without presenting the full picture. The Greys and Reptilians from Orion are involved in an ancient war with the benevolent Pleiadian and other groups. The Pleiadians are a very powerful group and they're guardian of the solar system. I personally don't believe they will let the Greys or reptilian agenda fully untold. They have helped us in the past. They are helping us now and will help us in the future. I know this because I have had many paranormal ET contact experiences since I was a child. There is not room to go into detail here, but it is covered in an above top secret presentation with investigative report Dave Starbuck, a type of revelation audio-visual Dave Starbuck, into a search engine to find. I I have a very clear photographic evidence of benevolent Pleiadian ETs materializing in my house and a box of channeled communications with these beings. These photographs will stand up to a computer grain analysis test because they are all 100% real. I also do not have the knowledge or technology to fake them. One photo shows a very clear face materializing in front of me. I also have post-traumatic stress disorder. From abductions and other contactees. There's a massive number of children missing in Britain, America, and other places connected to these bases. A figure in Britain seems to have at least 20,000 children disappear without a trace every year. In 1995, classified CIA and Defense Intelligence Agency, DIA, and FBI report it is stated that 100,000 children and 1 million adults disappear and then are never found every year. In 2001, Scotland Yard Police revealed that it had been unable to find 300 boys aged 4 to 7 that disappeared from London in a 3-month period. The 300 boys were reported missing July and September of 2001. Journalist Yinka Simonu, an expert in missing children, and BBC. In 1989 in Westchester, New York, which was the site of numerous UFO overflights and reports of human abduction at a time, over 3,000 missing children reports surfaced. After extensive investigation by the local police departments, the children were not found at red light districts or centers for runaways. Researchers and law enforcement officials were baffled. There's also a CIA finder's case. This involved negative factions of the CIA directly involved in child abduction. This was revealed in 1987 U.S. Customs report. Customs and police raids at D.C. warehouse, which was used by the CIA. There they found a set of instructions broadcast via computer network which advised the CIA to move a huge amount of children that were originally being held at this warehouse. Customs and police found large amounts of nappies and other things there, and to keep them moving across jurisdictions. There were instructions on how to avoid police detection, the destination for these children, and instructions. So the destination for the children were in New Mexico. The Albuquerque Journal ran the article entitled "Why New Mexico Has So Many More Missing Children Than Comparable States Remains a Mystery." Much of this activity is centered around New Mexico, where Dulce underground facility is. One male survivor of the MI6 CIA mind control project, Monarch, described a Illuminati formula by Fritz Springmeier. The China Lake, I've done uploads on China Lake too, guys. The China Lake Naval Base at Ridgecrest in California desert. This anonymous man says batches of children numbering 1, 2, and 3,000 were kept in cages piled up to the ceiling. He says the cages are called woodpecker grids. Oh my God. The upload that I did, and I've got to stop for a second. The upload that I did on China Lake was a father and son were out hiking and they saw a group of crawlers. Apparently a group of crawlers escaped from the China Lake base. One of the Navy's biggest weapons manufacturing base. Were these children that were abducted turned into crawlers? Is that what crawlers are? I've always thought that they were a genetic creation, by the Greys and reptilians. But if they are these abducted children, how sick would that be? My God. These are electrified and the children are tortured with electric shock. They're still being transported to the China Lake Naval Base by car, train, and air. One of the main delivery routes into China Lake is by plane from the Santa Rosa airstrip near Bohemian Grove. The Santa Rosa airstrip is supposed to be closed, yet planes take off from there every night. They don't put their lights on until they are hundreds of feet in the air. Nazi geneticist and mind control scientist Joseph Mengele, the angel of death from Auschwitz, was brought to America after the war by MI6 and the OSS, which later became the CIA, and Project Paperclip. Many other leading Nazi mind control experts, rocket scientists, and geneticists were also brought to the States and Britain after the war. Mengele stayed at China Lake and Tavistock Institute in London. China Lake Naval Base is in the same as Lancaster, California. It is or was Lancaster mass graves of mutilated discovered. By a sheer amount of evidence, the only conclusion I came up with is that certain sections of the U.S. and British government have sold us and our children out to malevolent alien/demons in backdoor treaties. The situation is grim. Come on, people. It's time to wake up. The New World Order, the UN, one world government, is this rigid control structure to clamp the people of the world into a totalitarian vice so they won't have to tell us about these alien demon powers when it happens. The name of the powerful secretive group is the Trilateral Commission, taken from the Orion Gray reptilian flag known as the Trilateral Insignia. This shows how much trouble the human race is truly in. There is now apathy amongst the people towards the world's event that is deadly and contagious. This is especially true of the people in Britain. We have truly become a nation of sheep. I challenge you all to shake off the apathy and challenge your government to tell the truth. Wow, I never would have even guessed or thought about. I've always thought that these crawlers that people have seen were some kind of genetic hybrid created by the gray/reptilian. But now reading this and sharing this with you guys, thinking about China Lake Navy Base, that upload that I did, it just makes it all the more scary, all the more real. And the people that try to expose this just get shut down. Chris Cornell, Chester Bennington, Andrew Bourdain, Isaac Cappy, all famous people trying to bring this to the light of day. It's silenced. Anyway, with that, my friends, I'd like to thank you all for supporting the channel. It is your support that helps the channel to continue to grow and go, and what gives us all a place and a chance to share our experiences and theories judgment-free. Everyone is simply treated with the respect that we deserve. Please stay safe, happy, healthy, and ever vigilant. keeping an eye on our children, pets, family, and our friends. These creatures are real. These events have happened. Share this information with those you love and care about, and it may just help save their lives someday. Until next time, never stop asking questions, never stop searching for the truth, and God bless you all.